and then you guys can start the meeting.
Take that second.
All right, I'll read the notice, and then, Mr. Chairman, you'll call the applications?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll all
All
go.
right. Notice is hereby given that due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic and recent executive orders issued by the governor, the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals hearing scheduled for Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020 at 6 p.m. will be held electronically via Zoom webinar instead of an in-person public hearing. It'll be streamed live over the internet. Dated 9/15/2020, Islip, New York, John N. Lorenzo, Chairman, Zoning Board of Appeals. Mr. Chairman, I turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Messina. Appreciate it. Good evening.
Chairman, are you going to call on me to do the public session item?
Yes,
Thank you.
Ms. Secretary, please do the public session item.
And I understand there's a little echo, possibly. Is anybody else hearing an echo when John speaks?
That's because of me.
Nah.
It's because of me, I think.
It's tolerable. It's no big.
I'm not hearing it. Deirdre, you
I'm
are
not hearing
still?
it. I'm not hearing it. either.
It's
Okay.
a little bit, but I just see the cursor come up, that noise is coming out of Dan's. That's the only thing.
Okay.
No.
We'll deal with it.
Dan will keep muted until he needs.
I'm turning my volume all the way down. I can still hear.
Okay, if you don't mind, before we get started with the public hearing, there is one public session item that needs to be addressed. Application number 162-20, Raymond Joseph. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated September 22nd, 2020, the application is denied as submitted for the one-story addition, however, granted for a smaller addition having a front yard setback of no less than 37 feet and denied as to the deck. On motion of
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Mr. Wexler and
No.
Mr. Paglia.
And opposed.
Opposed and no.
Yes, both. I join in Mr. Wexler's application,
So we have a 3-2 vote. Application carried.
or join in his dissent, rather.
Thank you. Public hearing can begin now.
First application 536-20, Salvatore and Donna Lakova. Permission to leave second story addition, having side yard 11.77 feet and 13.9 feet instead of required 18 feet each. Total side yards of 25.67 feet instead of required 36 feet, resulting in new dwelling on lot having width of 50 feet instead of required 100 feet and lot area of 10,000 square feet instead of required 20,000 square feet, and to leave patio on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residential AA districts, west side of Horizon Avenue, number 1598, 240.85 feet south of 7th Street, Bohemia, New York. Anyone here in this application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, appearing on behalf of the applicant Eugene L. DiNicola, 200 Railroad Avenue, Sayville, New York.
How are you, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm fine, and I hope the board is fine and well as well, also. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the applicant is requesting permission to leave a second-story addition to an existing dwelling having a side yard of 11.77 feet and a side yard of 13.9 feet instead of the required 18 feet each, and to leave total side yards of 25.67 feet instead of the required 36 feet. On a parcel of land having a width of 50 feet instead of the required 100 feet, total plot area of 10,000 square feet instead of 20,000 square feet. And also to leave a walkway patio on the south side of the dwelling, not having the required setback of 4 feet. Excuse me. The subject parcel is located in an area developed with single-family dwellings with a mix of 1- and 2-story dwellings. The dwelling adjacent to the subject parcel on the south is a 2-story dwelling, and the dwelling on the north adjacent is a 1-story ranch-style dwelling. Directly across the street from the subject parcel is a 2-story dwelling on a 50 by 200 foot parcel of land. That's tax lot 37 with a street address of 1591 Horizon Avenue. Pursuant to case number 206-85, the board approved the variance to add a second-story addition to the dwelling, provided that it extend no closer to the side yard than the existing house does, which permitted a 13-foot side yard and total side yards of 25.7 feet instead of the required 36 feet. The board opined that the second-story addition maintaining the existing 13-foot side yard does not adversely affect property values of the surrounding properties. That was stated in the decision. The board on this particular parcel had previously approved a side yard variance for an in-ground pool, and that was case number 655 of 76. Now, approximately 5 houses south of the subject parcel on the east side of Horizon Avenue, and this is tax lot 43, house number 1559. This board granted a variance request to erect a second-story addition to the dwelling, leaving an existing side yard of 14 feet and 11.2 feet. So each side yard, one was 14 feet instead of 18 feet, and the other was 11.2 feet instead of the required 18 feet, with total side yards of 25.2 feet instead of the required 36 feet.
Mr. DiNicola, I'm sorry, can I just ask you a question?
Yes.
This is a permission to leave a second-story addition.
Yes,
Did we previously grant this?
yes, previously granted the same relief or substantially similar relief on 1551 Horizon Avenue and excuse me one second, and 1559 Horizon Avenue.
So can I just ask you,
Directly across.
did the applicants just build straight up to build a second floor?
They built straight up. They did not encroach into the side
Okay.
yards of the existing single-family dwelling when it was CO'd 1965.
Okay, I don't know about the board, but I get the thrust of this application.
I agree with you, Mr. Wexler, and I'm assuming planning has no objection to this. Or do they have any objection, Deirdre?
No objections.
Okay, great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Mr. Nicola, have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Mr. Wexler, you saved me 3 pages of reading.
He saved us.
I saved us.
Have a good evening and be careful.
Hi, Mr. D.
Hold on.
Have a great day. Application number 537-20, Anthony Wachowski and Jacqueline Hazel. Permission to erect second-story addition approximately 17 feet by 28.4 feet, leaving side yards of 12.1 feet and 9.5 feet instead of required 14 feet each. Total side yards of 21.6 feet instead of required 28 feet. Floor area ratio of 28% instead of permitted 25%. And to leave awning 5.8 feet by 14.3 feet attached to the detached garage having side yard of 2.4 feet and rear yard of 2.2 feet instead of the required 4 feet each. Residence B District, west side of Parkwood Road, number 162, 91.92 feet north of Estate Road, West Islip, New York. Anyone here for this application?
Hello,
Hello?
We have Charlie Brody.
Hey,
Hi.
Mr. Rudy, how are you, sir?
good. I wasn't sure if my mic was working right. So hello, everybody. Hope everybody's well.
Everything's well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good.
All right,
Um, So as stated in the call, homeowner seeks permission to maintain the detached garage with non-conforming side and rear yard setbacks. Also, as stating in the call, homeowner seeks permission to erect a rear dormer with non-conforming side yard setbacks in on a non-conforming lot. The rear dormer sides will be in line with the existing residence sides of the dwelling below. So we won't be encroaching any closer to the property lines.
All right, great. And the 28% FAR is something we see a lot. We give it to 30, as you know.
Yes, Jim.
Awning attached to detached garage, 2.4 and 2.2 instead of 4. That seems de minimis. Deirdre from planning, any objection?
No objection. There's precedent for, I think, everything.
Kind of figured that, West Side. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
You
Hi,
too, sir.
Charlie.
Application number 530. I'm sorry, someone talk?
You probably said goodbye, Mary.
Oh, okay. Application 538-20, Carlos M. Santos and Carlos M. Ramos. Permission to leave roofed over outdoor kitchen having side yard of 0.4 feet and rear yard of 1.5 feet instead of required 10 feet each, and to leave patio and retaining wall on side property lines, not having required setback of 4 feet and having rear yard occupancy of 48.4% instead of permitted 30%. Residence A District, east side of Calvert Avenue, 90.59 feet south of Springdale Drive, Ronkonkoma.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
Good evening, Roxanne. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. How are you guys?
Doing well, thanks.
Okay, so this property presents us with a little bit of a unique situation. Because the property was subdivided in 1988, it leaves it in sort of an L shape, which is requiring most of the variances that we're here for tonight. So the property to the north and the east is the same property. It's a corner property, and their house is sort of catty cornered. And it looks like they took a piece of this property so that they could install a pool. And this is where we are today. So I think the biggest of the issues here is the covered outdoor kitchen. The outdoor kitchen itself requires a 4-foot setback, which it meets in the rear, and the side has 5.1, and then it slopes down to a 3.1. The bigger issue is the roof over it. It requires 10 feet. So it requires the 10 feet, and it obviously doesn't meet that, but the pool it's in the rear of the neighbor's yard, and the pool that's there is it's a little over 23 feet from where this roof over sits. I did send in a picture of the outdoor kitchen and the roof over patio just so that you could see, and then what she's pointing at there is the rear of the property to the north and the east of this, and that's the pool that they have there, and it's about 23 feet from where the roof over sits today.
Okay, wait, show us the subject parcel again, please, Deirdre. Okay, and where is, and that little orange, yeah,
Orange,
that's
yeah.
the roof over the patio.
Yes.
Okay, and next to that, is that a pool that's covered over?
Yes.
I see. Okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
And then the other thing that we're here for is the rear yard occupancy, which is 48.4% instead of the 30, which if they wouldn't have given up that piece of land when they did, they would have been under the requirement. And then the last thing is the patio and the retaining wall, which is on the property line instead of the 4 feet required.
So you know we hold up to 40%. I know it's an odd shape piece of property, but it seems like they do have a lot going on here. Are they able to get down to 40%?
Yes, I wasn't sure. I know if we do usually do 40% for the front. I wasn't sure if there would be a different number for the rear, but I did already speak to the clients about that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just looking at the covered outdoor kitchen, we've had these outdoor kitchens before, and I remember we had a spirited discussion, and I believe our vice chairman and I were on the same page that people congregate around those outdoor kitchens. I remember one had a TV, and we didn't like it so close to the property line. This is, if it's supposed to be a 4 foot or a 10 foot because of the overhang, aren't we kind of close?
Well, it meets the, if it didn't have the covered on top of it, it meets the 4 foot rear yard.
Well, and the other thing is that you're absolutely right, Mr. Wexler, and you know me, I'm a fanatic about that kind of thing. But here, what's immediately adjoining it is a pool. So you could argue that, they're going to make their own noise over there. There's not the area of their yard they're looking for quiet. So this one doesn't trouble me.
Well, sound travels over water very well.
Water is 800 times denser than air, but be that as it may.
And that's relevant how exactly?
My only
Just saying.
concern is
Show
that
off.
I think we should distinguish this and maybe even write on it, only because somebody's going to come and say,
Yeah.
I want the outdoor, and look,
No, I
you
agree.
gave it to this applicant and it's 0.4
I
And we're not
totally
gonna
agree,
have
Mr.
this
Wexler.
sitting in our mind.
I agree. I
Absolutely.
agree with you on that. I agree with that. I think that due to the nature of this property and where this covered outdoor kitchen sits, I think we could write something. Will, do you agree with that? You can help us out, given some
Yes,
good,
Chairman, I can certainly distinguish it.
thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it. And so Roxanne, you guys are okay, your clients are okay with getting down to 40% in the rear yard?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and I'm assuming, I don't know if I'm assuming, but Deirdre, planning the retaining wall? You guys okay with that?
Yeah, no objections. If you would look on, I don't have a picture, but on street view, the property slopes and they need the retaining wall on that side.
Okay, great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Application granted.
Thank you.
Have a great night, Roxanne. Are you back for
I
one
have,
more?
I have one more, yeah.
Okay. Application 539-20, Elmer A. Valletta, permission to leave driveway having front yard occupancy of 64.18% instead of permitted 35%. Residence B District, south side of Clayton Street, 140 feet west of Kenmore Avenue, Central Islip.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
How are you today again?
I'm okay, thank you. Okay, so we're here for the driveway having a front yard occupancy of 64.18 instead of the permitted 35%. In case the board wanted to grant the 40% that they are accustomed to, I did speak to the client and he is willing to cut down his driveway to the 40%.
Okay, sounds good. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
motion to grant the application as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too. Have a great night. Application number 540-20. Ralph and Kathleen Mazamudo. Permission to erect one-story addition 17.6 feet by 24.5 feet, leaving front yard of 19.3 feet, and portico 4 foot by 8.3 feet, leaving front yard of 16.4 feet instead of required 22 feet each, all leaving floor area ratio of 27.16 feet percent instead of permitted 25%. Residence A District, southeast corner of Middlesex Avenue and Ashbury Avenue, Oakdale, New York. Anyone here for this application?
Yes, Kathy Mazamudo is here. Kathy, you may have to unmute yourself, and you came in twice, so there we go. Okay. I'm going to remove you. I'm going to remove you on the other one because I see you. There we go. That should work. Okay, now just unmute yourself, you guys. Look for the little red microphone in the lower left-hand corner and click it. There we go. You're all set.
You're still muted, no?
Yeah, still muted.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go. Oh, come back again.
I think I might have done that accidentally.
Ms. Mazamudo, you got to unmute yourself.
Unmute.
There you go.
You're good.
Okay.
Now
How are
just
you tonight?
turn the camera a little bit so we can see both of you. There we go.
Can you see the dog?
Nope.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. How's everybody?
Good, thanks. Your name and address for the record, please.
Kathleen Mazamudo, 70 Middlesex Avenue, Oakdale, New York.
Great.
Ralph Mazamudo, 70 Middlesex Avenue, Oakdale, New York.
Great. How are you guys?
Very good. Thank you for your excellence.
You're here seeking permission to erect a one-story addition, little short in the front yard, and then with a portico also, a little short in the front yard also. 19.3 and 15.4 instead of 22 feet. We see floor area ratio of 27.16 feet, but we see up to 30 most of the time, although the code says 25. Deirdre from planning, do we have precedent for the front yard?
There's no precedent, but I just wanted to show the board that Ashbury Avenue, looking on the aerial, it only leads to one house. It's not a main road, actually. It is like right here, a road, but then it turns into this house over here. So it's not that impactful as if it would be on a main road, or a road with more traffic other than the resident of this house.
Okay, great.
So no objections.
Appreciate it. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application Granted. You guys have a great night.
Thank you so
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
We greatly appreciate it. Stay well, everybody.
Be healthy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Application 541-20, Jason Ackerman. Permission to leave one-story addition, 24.08 feet by 10.5 feet, having side yard of 13.4 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence B District, north side of East Adams Street, 1,044 feet west of Conloo Drive East, East Islip.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Jason Ackerman, 37 East Adams Street, East Islip, New York, the homeowner of this application. We had a extension done last year, and upon the survey being reviewed by the town, we found out that we had a 13.4 foot side yard instead of a 14-foot side yard. So permission to leave the
Expect us to
extension.
grant that?
I'd hope so.
How you contracted to buy a new ruler?
Yeah.
He said I can blame him, so.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion that we grant the application.
All in favor? Aye. Application granted, sir.
Thank you so much for your time.
Have a great night. You too.
You as well.
Next application, 542-20, Kevin Montalvo and Felicia Benigno Montalvo. Permission to use dwelling for two-family, family use only pursuant to Islip Town Code, Section 68-419.1, Residence B District, north side of Deer Road, 400 feet west of Pamlico Avenue, Ronkonkoma. Is anyone here in this application?
Hi, yes, we're here. How are you?
How are you tonight?
Well, thank you. Felicia and Kevin Montalvo, 377 Deer Road, Ronkonkoma, New York, 11779.
Great. You here seeking permission to use family, two-family, family use only. It appears that the criteria is medical for your mom.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Everything's in order, Mary?
Yes, everything's in order. We have a letter from the doctor and the criteria is medical.
Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Next application, 543-20, Frank and Linda Vitale. Permission to leave detached garage, 22.4 feet by 22.4 feet, having side yard of 4.1 and rear yard of 4.2 instead of required 10 feet each, having height of 14.25 instead of permitted 14 feet, resulting in floor area ratio of 26.9% instead of permitted 25%, and to leave driveway having side yard of 1 foot instead of required 4 foot. Residence A District, east side of Lumar Drive, 80 feet north of directional change of Lumar Drive, 80 feet north of directional change of Lumar Drive, Sable, whatever that is. Anyone here on this application?
Yes, I've just promoted him in. Anthony Delzato, are you with us? You may have to unmute yourself.
Okay,
Also, I have, you're in.
Okay. My name's Anthony.
And just as a point of reference,
Sorry, what was that?
I was just going to say, as a point of reference, there is a phone caller who I can't communicate with until they raise their virtual hand. So if the phone caller who's in the attendee panel, if you're interested in speaking, you have to hit *9. Is that right, Tom? I think it's *9 to raise your virtual hand.
That is correct.
And there's also one person in the attendee panel who comes in as Galaxy S9 Plus, and I'm not sure who that is either. I've written them, and they probably just don't know how to respond. So same for
Somebody
you,
from another galaxy?
Yeah, in other words, there's people in the attendee panel who I can't communicate with, and
It's a Galaxy cell phone. It was a joke, Mr.
Okay.
No.
Lighten up.
Thank you, Vinny.
Oh, well, it was two different attendees.
The Delzato.
Yes.
How are you, sir?
Good, how are
Name
you?
and address- I don't know if you said name and address. I forgot already. Name and address for the record, please.
Anthony Delzato, 120 Rollstone Avenue, West Sayville, New York, 11796.
How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
So your client you're here on behalf of the Vitalis, correct?
Yes.
You have a detached garage that's a little too close on both rear and side.
Yeah.
Height a little too high.
Yeah, the garage was supposed to be 22 feet by 22 feet, and that's what I built it. But then with the overhang of the siding, it ended up being 22.4 by 22.4. With put it over by I think 2 square.
Yeah, 1 3/4 square feet I'm calculating. So the overhang of the siding put you over the 500 square feet?
Yes.
Guess you won't make that mistake again, huh?
No.
All right, what about your height? Your height's a little too tall. 14 feet.
The
14
property slopes off pretty bad in that small area. As far as, especially in the southeast corner. I think that's what really just put me over the height on that, why I was off.
Oh, so did you have it? I see you have some markings on the survey from Lisa McCulkin. And up here, I believe those are the heights of the 4 corners of the garage.
Yes.
So it was calculated property at 14 1/4?
Yes. With those markings that she has.
On the driveway of 1 foot instead of 4, FAR a little bit higher than normal, what we see up to 30. Deirdre from planning, any precedent for the garage?
No precedent.
1/4 of a foot, though.
I
3
got you.
inches.
I got it. All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Aye.
Have a good night.
Application 544-20, Ashley Ortiz and Kristen Brescia. Permission to leave entrance ramp having front yard of 16 feet instead of required 25 feet, and second front yard of 12.9 feet instead of required 15 feet. Shed having front yard of 16 feet instead of required 20 feet, and driveway having side yard of 0.4 feet, and patio having side yard of 0.9 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residence B District, southwest corner of Woodlawn Avenue and Boulder Street, Ronkonkoma, New York. Anyone here in this application?
Here.
How are you tonight?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good. Name and address for the record, please.
Ashley Ortiz, 240 Woodlawn Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York, 11779.
Who's that behind you, ma'am?
This is actually my neighbor.
Oh,
Next-
okay.
Yeah, there was no point of us both being on if we're literally texting each other. So she just came.
Good.
Quick question. Before we start,
We
I have
asked
a question.
we asked the questions.
Okay.
That's
Well,
how
may
this
I ask the
works.
question?
That's up to the chairman.
You ask a question. Go ahead.
as far as the ramp for my son, I went through you guys for every step of the way. I'm just a little confused on how there's a measurement when I got approved every step of the way to clear and complete.
We didn't give you that permit.
I have a suggestion on that. I think I remember at least the first hearing we used to try to facilitate the application, we used a slightly outdated survey. You remember that?
I don't remember that, but it could be very well be possible. And that would make a difference on the numbers.
Sure, the survey equipment nowadays, this decade, is way more sophisticated than it was back in, which was probably a 30-year-old survey, if I remember correctly, just to try to help you get the application started without any haste.
Okay.
Okay. I don't remember this. I don't remember the application, Mary, with the old survey. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's fine. It was at 401 Main Street. That's how long ago it was. And
Was that like 3 years?
feels like it.
That was you, not me. It's right there, right on that one.
Oh, it seems like 3 years. I mean,
All right. So let's break this down. Entrance ramp having front yard of 16 feet instead of required, and second front yard of 12.9 instead of 15 feet. Deirdre from planning, it's kind of it's on a corner, radius, curve, 2 roads. What do you say?
I have no objections. There's kind of a precedent, not exactly, but it comes close with a front yard of 19 and a second front yard of 13.83.
Okay,
So this is slightly harsher, but no objections.
sounds good. Shed having front yard of 16 instead of 20 feet, right?
Yeah, there's not really room for them to move it other places.
Okay.
I don't know if they would get the extra 4 feet by moving it closer to the concrete patio. It might be a foot or two. I don't know how helpful that would be.
Gotcha. Okay.
Bentley.
And we have driveway, which is down the part of the driveway where it's too close. And we see that a lot. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
I just have one quick question for you guys, just to square this away. Somebody registered named Jean Marie to speak on the application. That's
Yes.
her? Okay, great.
That's me. So I just,
Great, thank you.
I support.
let me guess, you're in favor?
Yeah, she's in. Are you in favor?
I'm in favor of yes.
All right, great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. All right, Mr.
A
Sullivan.
motion to grant the application.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sounds like your last motion.
Aye.
Really?
Gonna make it, Chris?
I can't hear. I can barely hear anything.
Oh, all right.
Application number 545-20.
Good night,
Jose-
Ashley. Good night, Jean Marie. If you don't mind, the person that is the caller does have their hand up. So I'm just going to allow them to speak right now so that they could tell us what application that they're here on. Not sure how this works, but. Okay, caller, if you want to speak to us now, can you unmute yourself? Maybe you don't want to speak now. Speak now, forever hold your peace. Okay. Oh, maybe I have to unmute them.
Yes, hi, this is Piotr Groń. I'm an applicant for 550-20.
Okay, you'll be called in a little while, Peter. I'm going to rename you now and move you back to the attendee panel, okay?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Boy, I missed 401.
Mm-hmm.
639 for the record.
Not bad.
You were a lot quicker to condemn than you were to praise, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
I know. This is wearing on me, though.
Gosh, if I had $1 every time somebody moaned about 401.
Oh,
Right.
I know.
I
Jeez,
told you guys, man. I told you.
man. You don't know what you got until it's gone.
Amen. Amen.
That's a good lyric for a song.
Next application, 545-20, Jose Flores Velasquez and Santo Flores Velasquez. Permission to leave dwelling having height of 28.55 feet instead of permitted 28 feet, Residence B District, south side of Inchcape Road, 166.33 feet west of Fifth Avenue, Bay Shore, New York. Anyone here for the application?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. I just wanted to make sure you could hear me. My name is John Gleason, architect, 336 6th Avenue, St. James. I'm here to represent Mr. and Mrs. Velasquez.
You have a dwelling that's a little bit too high.
6 5/8 inches, correct. As I'm doing the expediting work, and it seems maybe the surveyor and the builder, probably the builder, were a little off on their measurements. And I guess we're number 6 of mismeasured cases tonight, I guess. But that's where we stand on Inchcape Avenue. I mean, Inchcape, and that's where we're asking relief from the board to kindly give us a 6 5/8 inch relief on the height of the building.
Got it. Deirdre from planning, I'm assuming, any objection or no?
No objection.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted, sir. Have a good night.
Enjoy, be safe. Thank you.
You too.
Application 546-20, Brian and Renee Kaminsky, permission to leave pool patio having rear occupancy, of 44% instead of permitted 30%. Driveway and patio on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet each. Generator having side yard of 1 foot instead of required 2 feet. And shed having side yard of 1 foot instead of required 2 feet. And not having 20 foot behind the front line of dwelling. Residence B District, Oak Neck Road, 520 feet south of 4th Street, West Islip. Anyone here in this application?
Go ahead, Rich. We're ready for you. Rich, can you hear us? Can you nod your head?
Can you raise your hand if you can hear us? All right.
Is he getting married? He just can't connect, or?
Yeah, can you see him?
It doesn't appear he has a microphone.
Yeah, should I suggest he call in, Tom?
I would suggest that at this point.
Want a second call, move on so he can figure
Yes,
it out?
that's a good idea.
Mr. Chipkowski, if you can hear us, please call in. We're gonna second call you. You good with that, man?
Yeah, I just don't know if he's going to know how to call in. Tommy gets the registration link and the instructions are there, right? With
That is
phone
correct.
numbers?
That is correct.
Okay. We'll just do this. Rich, if you can hear us, you can call my desk phone and I'll try to help you. Oh, he's speaking. Okay. Is it possible that his speakers aren't on, Tom? Like he just
No,
doesn't.
if you look at him in the panelist list, he does not have a microphone next to his name.
So why don't we just move on to the next one and somebody can call him?
I'll move him back to attendee. Bye, Rich.
Okay, next application, 547-20, J Nazaro Partnership. Permission to extend the less restrictive use into a more restrictive zone pursuant to Islip Town Code, section 68-415B. Business 1 District, southwest corner of East Main Street and Degnan Boulevard, Bay Shore, New York. Anyone here for this application?
I have word that Jim Nazaro is going to present this application for himself tonight, but I've just replied and let them know that he was supposed to register. So we may have to second call that one as well. Did somebody move Peter Groen into the attendee panel? That application isn't going to be heard for a little bit, so that was the caller.
What are we doing? Are we gonna second?
Yeah, if you could just.
Second call?
Yeah, move on to page 3.
Okay. Page 3, second call.
Oh, you know what? Rich Tripakowski has his hand up. Can I let him speak?
Want to go back to that? Rich Shipkowski?
Yeah,
Can we hear him before we recall?
yeah, here we go. I'm promoting him to a panelist. Rich, can you hear us? There you are again. Can you hear us, Rich?
I don't see a microphone under by his name.
Yeah,
still.
it said, I got a message, Tom, that said he's using an older version of Zoom.
Okay, well, he's not registering as having a microphone, so
Okay,
you're not gonna be able to hear him speak.
okay. Putting him back out again.
All right, another second call on that. Next application,
I think we're on 373.
373-20, Joseph and Christine Rosati. Permission to modify driveway leaving side yard of 0 instead of required 4 feet and having front yard occupancy of 46.8 feet instead of permitted 35%. To leave 2 sheds not having required 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. To leave gravel type area on side property line instead of required 4 feet. To leave pool patio and gravel area having rear yard occupancy of 78.62 feet. 30.33% patio, 48.29% gravel instead of permitted 30%. Residence A district, west side of Sequoms Lane East, 664.92 feet north of Eaton Lane, West Islip. This matter was adjourned from June 23rd, 2020. Is anyone here in this application?
Mr. and Mrs. Rosati are here.
Hi, how are you?
This must be the one from the other galaxy.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman and Board. Hope you all are well.
Well, we're well. How are you?
Hanging in there, thank you.
Name and address for the record, please.
Joe Rosati, 104 Sequoms Lane East, West Islip.
And
Great.
Christine Rosati?
Great. So you were adjourned from June 23rd. You want to fill us back in on?
Well, why did we adjourn it from on June 23rd? Mr. Chairman, do you recall?
I don't recall exactly why we adjourned it, but I believe that we told them to possibly go meet with planning and see what they can do, because some of the relief they're asking for was a bit extreme. Am I correct with that, Mr. and Mrs. Rosati?
Yes, we were adjourned because we were asking for too much FAR, which we got down to 46.8. The first time when we were asking, we weren't really asking for it. It was just a rough layout. Now we have the layout and it was blue beamed at the town. And we're at 46.8.
Okay,
I think, do you mean rear yard, front yard occupancy rather than FAR?
I think he meant that, yes. You meant front yard occupancy, right, sir?
Yes, front yard occupancy, yes.
Okay, I don't believe there's, I got to ask Deirdre from planning, but I'm not sure if there's any precedent for 46.8. We do see up to 40%, but Deirdre from planning, any precedent for 46.8 in West Islip over there?
There's no precedent for the front yard occupancy. The rear yard, the highest they went up that there was precedent for was 48.7 on the basis that it was mostly pavers, but that's the only precedent for a rear or front yard occupancy I could find.
Okay. So we have a front yard occupancy that we hold at 40%. You're at 46.8. The two sheds not having required 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. How long have they been up?
2010, late in 2010. You should have the paperwork there showing the two sheds from 2013.
Okay, do you know how far back they are from the front? They look pretty close to being back. Are they off by a little bit?
I believe they're 10 feet off the front of the house.
And when did the code change, Mary?
2012, I believe.
Okay, do we have any sort of aerial that shows that they were there 2010?
Yes, I did send paperwork over to the Zoning Board of Appeals showing the sheds from 2010 aerial.
Do we have that, Mayor?
I think it's in the file. You sent us about 20 things, so I wasn't really sure what you were sending. So yeah, I do think that that's in the file.
Okay. Then it's to leave gravel type area on side property lines to the required 4 feet, pool patio and gravel area, rear yard occupancy. So there's only precedent. What did you say, Deirdre, for the rear yard occupancy of precedent in the area?
Up to 48.7.
Okay, and that's mostly pavers. So we have, it appears, pavers and gravel. Is that what it is in the backyard? I can't really read the.
It's pea gravel.
You're gonna have to get it down, sir. We can't, we have not seen that high of rear, or granted that high of rear yard occupancy in West Islip in that area, as long as I can remember, as long as I've been on the board. So you do have a precedent of over 40 at 48 and change, but 78, whatever they call it, 78.62 is not going to.
We do have an aerial picture from 2010. We've had the pea gravel since 2010.
Actually, since 2008.
But that's different than the shed. That's not going to help you in this situation.
Oh, I thought the last time when we were speaking on the last date that you had said if I have proof that it's been there.
From 2010.
That was probably the shed.
Sheds.
The reason the sheds are different is because the code change came in 2012. So we credit you with that because they predate. But the 40% has been around for probably 40 years. So that 2010 date doesn't help you with the front and rear yard occupancy.
Okay, because I do have an email which I did send over from Dan Burgos in the zoning department that the gravel has been in existence since 2010.
But that doesn't help you. You have to go, if you show us it was in existence since 1965, we'll have, it's a different discussion.
Okay.
That doesn't predate the code like the sheds do. So you get the benefit of being grandfathered, as they say in layman's terms.
Correct. We have to hold up the code. We go a little higher and a little heavier on the code than what it states, but 78.62 is much more than the C ever for rear yard occupancy. So that's going to have to be cut down. I know you do have a one precedent in the area of 48%. We'd have to see if the board's willing to go to 48%, but 78% is way too high.
Mr. Chairman, hang on a second, wait 1 second. Mr. Chairman, may I ask Deidre what the 48% was and if it's a one-off?
It was for a backyard that had pavers, so they were allowing that high percentage because of pavers.
And do we have any other greater than 40% in that area?
Not that I could find.
Yeah.
And what year was that application, Deirdre?
I believe 2009.
Either, pavers, Deirdre, I'd have to think that pea gravel and pavers permeate the same way. I can't imagine that pea gravel with puddle and pavers will drain. So the 48%, I'm okay with the 48% if we want to utilize that. I don't know what the rest of the board has with that.
Well, I agree with the chairman's analogy, pea gravel, pavers, bricks.
Who's trying to speak? I can't see who's trying to
I
speak.
think Chris Nicolia. He's thinking.
I agree, and I happen to know a little bit about this topic of pavers, and pavers today are very permeable if they're installed on top of sand. In fact, many municipalities are using them as appropriate drainage.
It sounds like a promotional
where
video.
drywall can't be installed.
All right, thank you. So,
Nope.
Mr. and Ms. Rosati, we're gonna have to get the front yard occupancy and down to 40% and the rear yard occupancy down to 48%, I believe. And the sheds, you have some history of their being built there prior to the code change. You okay with agreeing to that? Mr. and Ms. Rosati?
I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
We're going to, the sheds seem to be okay because you have some history when they were built. The front yard and rear yard occupancy are a little too high. They're gonna have to be cut down. Front yard to 40%, rear yard to 48%.
The rear yard is 48%,
Yes,
and the front yard is,
down to 40. You're at 46.8% in the front yard.
so could I ask you this? I'm originally asking for no bed on the one side of the property. If I put a 2-foot bed, on the side yard where it says gravel for boat,
So you can contact planning if you'd like to. We're not experts that can measure that out and give you a number right here today. But what we could do is we can approve you if the board sees fit and no one else wants to be heard for the 40% in the front yard and the 48% in the rear yard. And however you get there, you get there.
okay, so if I have beds plant beds with soil in my backyard, that takes off the 48%?
Again, sir, I'm not an expert on calculating that, so I can't answer that question. But what I could do is approve you at the percentages we said, if the board sees fit, and you can get there. While speaking of planning, they're experts on that. I would do you an injustice if I tried to calculate this for you. It'd probably be not good for you. So,
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
all right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Make a motion that we deny so much of the application seeking 46.8% instead of 35 of the front yard. And however, grant 40% and further deny so much of the application seeking 78.62% rear yard occupancy, but grant 48% and grant the remainder of the application.
We got a second from Mr. Sullivan, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
Aye.
Have a great night, guys.
You too. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you. Next application 548 oh, I'm sorry, Mary, do you want to go back to the
We
second?
have,
call?
both our second calls have arrived.
Okay.
Um,
So we'll go
yeah.
back to Mr. Chupkowski first. 546-20.
Rich Tripakowski has arrived twice, so let's see if either one of these work. Okay, looks like he brought out the big guns.
Good evening.
All right, good evening. Should I read it again or do we have it on record?
We have it.
Okay, we have it. All right, great. Hi,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Chupkowski.
members of the
Address for
board.
record.
Richard Tripakowski, I'm sorry about that. I don't know why I was good and just got disconnected, so I apologize for that.
No
But it's
problem.
Richard Tripakowski, agent for the applicant, 173 North Main Street, Sayville, New York.
Great, how are you tonight?
Good, thank you.
So you want to state your case, or you want me to?
Yes, yeah. The property in this neighborhoods are relatively small and make it difficult to meet current code requirements. Number one, regarding the rear yard pool patio, the pool does meet setback requirements, but the patio as built exceeds the allowed 30%. I have submitted a Google Earth photo that shows surrounding home that have similar lot coverage. The rear yard is pavers. Just listening, I don't know if that makes a difference. Number two, the driveway varies from 2 to 6 foot from the property line and seems consistent with others in the area. The generator is 1 foot off the property line and requires 2 foot from code. There's a 6 foot PVC fence that is separating the neighbors. This should not have any negative impact on the neighbor. The shed was built between 2008 and 2009, is only 6 foot by 8 foot and is 8 foot high, has a side yard of 1 foot, which was required to create the needed separation from the home. The setback from the front of the home is 8 foot. I have provided photos of many homes in the area, similar sheds.
So the shed, you said was 8 foot behind the front yard, the
It's
front
8
line? of
foot
the dwelling?
behind the front house line, yes.
And you're saying it was built in 2008? I lost you. for a moment.
2008 to 2009. They weren't sure of the exact date, but it was somewhere between 2008, 2009.
Okay, rear yard occupancy, you know, we only see up to usually 40%. Deirdre, this is West Islip. I know it gets a little heavy in West Islip with precedent. Do we have any?
No precedent.
Precedent. So we hold the line at 40%, Mr. Shipkowski. Your applicant will be willing to get down to 40% from 44?
Yes, we would, but I just have to question, on another application, because it is pavers, does that make a difference?
Well, we discussed pavers in the last application, but they were at 78.6%. So
Okay.
they had pea gravel, and we were just making the.
We'd be willing to accept 40%, yes.
All right. Generator, I feel is de minimis. I'm sure Deirdre, you planning feels the same.
Yeah, no objections.
And the shed behind the front line of the dwelling was built prior to code change, which was 10 feet. I will have to take a vote on that with the board. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Yes, I'll make a motion that we deny so much the application seeking 44% rear yard occupancy instead of permitted 30%. However, granting 40% and granting the remainder of the application, as long as nobody has an issue with the shed not having 20 feet behind the front dwelling. I don't know if we discussed that.
I have no issue with that.
Okay.
We discussed it, Mr. Wex, is to put your mind that it was built prior to the code change of 10 feet. So
Okay.
they're closer to.
Then I also then grant the remainder of the application.
You got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night, Mr. Shipkowski.
Thank you, you also.
Aye.
Does the second call in Jane Azar partnership, Mary?
Yes, he has arrived. I'll promote him right now.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, sir. How are you tonight?
Oh, good. I'm glad you can. So I apologize for missing the first call. A little difficulty here getting on. Okay, this is rather simple. The property is approximately, or it is 2 acres, and the in the south, and Degnon is currently zoned Business 1. To the south of that, there's a sliver of property that's 75 feet wide by approximately 200 feet deep. First 75 by 100 is zoned residential B, but the remainder of the property to the south is zoned business 3. So we have a combination of different here. Have the the residence B ended up in the middle of a commercial area and it's totally surrounded by commercial properties. The only thing we're looking for is to extend our business one zoning into the residential area, which is just on the south edge of the building that's proposed.
Right.
Deirdre, could you show us where that 75-foot area is, please?
Well, that hardly looks appropriate.
So it's this square in here. Just this is residence B, but this is
Just that little square.
Right, but it adjoins on that side of the property. I mean, it's literally surrounded by all business uses or commercial uses, right?
Yep. And planning has no objection, Deirdre?
no objections.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Application
Motion to
granted.
grant the application.
We got you.
Aye.
Thank you. Application granted. Have a good night, Mr.
Aye.
Thanks.
Mary, is anybody able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you barely.
We can hear you.
We can hear you just fine.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, that's good.
I'm done, right?
You're done.
Have a good
JJ,
night.
thank you. Good
Run
night.
like the wind before we change our minds.
Yeah.
All right, application 548-20, Roberto Ramirez, permission to leave patio, having side yard of 1.5 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, north side of Cypress Street, 250 feet west of Boulevard Avenue, Central Islip. Anyone here in this application?
I have nobody here on this and nobody registered.
All right, second call. Application 549-20, Joseph and Caitlin DiGirolamo, permission to erect two-story addition, 18.75 by 36.5, leaving front yard of 26.5 instead of required 30, side yard of 7.6 instead of required 14, total side yard of 22.9 instead of required 28 feet. Additions resulting in floor area ratio of 27.6 instead of permitted 25%. Residence A District, north side of Shore Drive, 178 feet southeast of Idlewild Boulevard, Oakdale. Anyone here in this application?
Just unmute yourself, Mr. DiGirolamo. Great.
Hello, how are you guys?
Good evening, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Name and address for the record, please.
Joseph DiGirolamo, 68 Shore Drive, Oakdale.
Great. You're here seeking permission to erect a two-story addition.
Yes, I am.
You want to state your case, or you want me to?
So I'm looking to, as you can see, the property is kind of oddly shaped there on the side. So we, the architect did have to go over the line a little bit to get the garage in. The second story is for storage. Shore Drive, I can't get a basement down here. So I am looking to use the second story as like a storage basement type of thing. And the garage, obviously, for a workspace. As well as the front patio in between the garage and the other side of the house.
That's the proposed covered porch you're talking about?
Yes, yes, sir.
Great. Deirdre, any objection from, or precedent from planning?
There's no precedent, except that this house was actually granted already a 7-foot side yard for an addition that was on the other side of the house that's now been taken away. There's a lot of small side yards that have been granted in the area, usually around 8 feet. But seeing as this addition is only 7.6 in the one corner, no objections.
So there are other properties that have been granted 8, and you said we did have a grant on the other side for 7 feet.
On the other side of this parcel though,
This
right?
parcel that has been removed.
Sorry, of this house, like
Yeah.
this specific, yeah.
And it's been
So
removed.
this will mean that they're doubling their side yard variances.
Well, it was removed, I think, Mr. Messina.
Yes, that was removed, sir.
They removed that.
Oh, I see. Okay, then I misunderstood. I apologize. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. You're only, to me anyway, that you're only looking for a
Thank you.
portion of it. So.
Okay. Great. Floor area ratio is 27.6, but as you probably heard in the past, we've gone up to 30. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Application 550-20, Peter and Magdalena Gran. Permission to erect two-story dwelling on lot not having required width of 75 feet throughout. Residence A District, south side of Timber Point Road, 67 feet west of Woodland Drive, East Islip. Anyone here in this application?
He's here. Peter, can you hear us? Okay.
Yes, hi, this is Piotr Groń, 1026 Locust Avenue in Bohemia.
How are you tonight, sir?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Good. You're here seeking permission to erect a two-story dwelling on a lot not
That's
having required width. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
You, would you like to state your case or would you like us to discuss it?
Can you discuss it?
Sure, no problem. Deirdre from planning, I'm assuming this has some story to it, this lot. It looks like a fairly deep lot, just on an odd angle.
Yeah. Sorry. Where this is a 75 feet throughout is all the way down here at the back of the property. It's even without this triangle odd shaped piece, they would still be well within what's the permitted lot size. They're actually over it. It's just, it kind of narrows down here and that's kind of what they're being penalized for.
So the lot is oversized, but it just isn't rectangular, right?
Right. So someone interpreted this code a different way, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, but they have enough setback and everything minus that rectangle, that unrectangular, if that's even a word, piece in the rear, correct?
Correct.
Trapezoidal is the word I think you're looking for, Mr. Chair.
Again, I'm not that smart, Mr. Messina, I apologize.
Neither am I. I just know that. You found out the one piece of information I know.
Great, so I'm assuming planning has no objection from your comments, correct?
No objections.
Right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted, sir.
Thank you.
My screen is frozen. Does anybody? I can't hear anything.
We can hear you. We just can't see you.
Seems to be really lagging.
Yeah, you're lagging a little bit. This is my last application. I'm gonna have to,
Mr. Chairman, don't be so bleak.
Application 551-20, REO Properties LLC, permission to leave cellar entrance having rear yard of 15 feet instead of required 25 feet, and 6-foot fence having second front yard of 0.8 feet instead of required 10 feet. Residence A District, northeast corner of Gibbs Road and Carnation Avenue, Central Islip. Is anyone here for this application?
Oneda, you are the only person who has arrived on this application. I know you were interested in speaking if needed, but you're needed. Can you hear us, Oneda?
You have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. How are you tonight?
Doing okay. How are you?
Good. Name and address for the record.
It's 147 Gibbs Road, Central Islip, New York, 11717. My name is Oneida Gallardo. I'm member of REO Properties LLC.
Great. So you're here seeking permission to leave a cellar entrance.
Yes, that is the most important part of this application for us.
Okay. It appears that the dwelling is not perpendicular to the easterly property line. Deirdre, we have any precedent for the cellar entrance or any objection from planning?
No objection, no precedent, but I do request that it not be enclosed.
So, ma'am, never to be enclosed?
No, it's not enclosed. We
Or never
submitted
to
a
be,
picture.
never to be enclosed. You can't ever enclose it. Do you agree to that?
No, it's not going to be enclosed either.
Okay, great. And you have a fence that's a little too close and too high on the property line.
The one on the back or the one on the side?
It's on Carnation Avenue, and it's
Yes.
only, it appears to be only the wood fence, not the chain link.
Okay, so should we remove the wood fence?
Yeah, it would, well, hold on one second. Yeah, the code allows 11,250. We usually go up to 12,000. You're a little over 12,000. You're 12,500. So the wood fence either has to come down to 4 feet or be moved in on the property line 10 feet in
Or removed, period.
or removed, period.
It's not the, it's going to be the wood one, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's very easy.
Okay, great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion. And deny the fence. Deny the fence?
And deny the fence.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Vice Chairman, you take over for me?
Very good. Mr. Chairman, have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys. Have a
So
good
long,
night.
John.
All right, next application number 552-20, Alvin Rivera, permission to leave driveway having a side yard of 0.5 feet instead of required 4 feet, Residence B District.
I'm muted. What are you doing?
Corner
You leave?
Of Perry Street, number 14B, and Lincoln
You too?
Avenue, Brentwood, New York. Is anyone here for the applicant?
If you tell me how to lock up, I'll lock up.
Mr. Sullivan, we hear you, sir.
Okay, sir. My name is Alvin Rivera. I'm a resident of 14B Perry Street, Brentwood, New York, 11717.
All right. You have anything to add to the application?
Yes, I had a permit put in for a pool last year, and my survey was the last thing I ever did as part of the process. And then, of course, the survey came back, and I was told that the driveway was half a foot close to the property line.
Yeah, okay, it's just in that one corner, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Planning, do you wish to be heard?
No objections.
Anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? Hearing no one. Mr. Wexler,
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
None? So carried. Application granted, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're very welcome. Next application, number 553-20, Balal Ali Latif. Permission to erect one-story dwelling on a lot having an area of
Halal.
6,000 square feet instead of required 11,250 square feet, width of 60 feet instead of required 75 feet, and leaving a front yard of 30.9 feet instead of required 40 feet, Residence A District, north side of Bake Street, 100 feet west of Walnut Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York. Mr. Zolo, are you here?
I am here. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, sir. The floor is yours.
Nice to Zoom with you. Yes, I just want to.
You say that to all the boards, Mr. Zola.
I put a tie on for this thing.
Me
I
too.
forgot I had time to not. Good evening. I represent Balal Latif. This is regarding property at 881 Bag Street in Ronkonkoma, Suffolk County Tax Map number 563-257. It's located on the north side of Bag Street, approximately 100 feet west of Walnut Avenue. It's lots number 416, 417, and 418 on a map of Ronkonkoma.
All right. Just a little housekeeping, Mr. Zola. This had been presently before us, has it not?
Yes, in 1993, I believe, and it was an application for a a house to be constructed of about 2,150 square feet, a 2-story high ranch. And we've come back and, we commenced an Article 78 proceeding just to get back to the board. We settled that case and we're back before the board. Right now, what's proposed on this parcel, it's a 60 by 100 piece. What's proposed is a modest ranch, which would be, let me see the sizes, I think 1,040 square feet, a 1-story ranch. There was as you know, the previous application was denied. I think that was 1993. My client bought this property from the county for $46,000. It's been in single and separate ownership. I provided to the board and a copy of the single and separate, a copy of the tax map showing some of the lots in the area. There's various lots in the area that range, from 60 feet to 100 feet and 150 feet. And I provided you a copy of a building certificate showing there was a demolition of a family dwelling in January of 1981. And it has a street number of 881, which leads me to believe that, between the CO from the building department for demolition of a one-family dwelling and a street address, that there was a house there previously. And if you look at the properties on Barrack, you have mostly 100-foot frontage.
Yeah, so we acknowledge that it's a residential area, residential use would be in keeping with that. How do you get past the fact, though, that you're about 50% under roughly what's required in terms of lot area, right?
The way I addressed that is this was a map off of an old file map, and it's been in single and separate since the 1950s when it was created. The map was filed in 1931, and that there are other similar properties similar in width and depth in the area.
How many, Mrs. Olo, how many are there in the radius map that are 60 by 75 or 6,000 square feet?
I'm looking towards Cedar. My survey says, I believe it's 60 by 100, right?
No, 60 by 60 by
60 by 100, 60 by 100.
Yeah, so 6,000 square foot. I think if you go towards, in the radius map, you'll see on Cedar, there's quite a few of those houses that front.
I don't see a single one.
Yeah, I'm looking at
within the radius. I see a couple 60 by 155s, but those appear to be, if I'm correct, in the 1,000-foot. Even still, they're not going to help you much, Mr. Solo.
On Walnut, I saw a few of 60-foot frontages on Walnut, just to the south of Bayek Street.
But, Mr. Zola, if I can make
I see it 80 by 100.
If I can make a suggestion, you here were a little disinclined at this juncture. However, why don't you ask for an adjournment and let's study it? Give us a count. How many 60 by 100s are there? I don't see any. And I don't have the greatest eyesight, but I don't see any. And wouldn't it behoove you to take an adjournment and give us a count and study it?
Yes, I will do that.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, please.
You're smart.
Next to-
You must have been a town attorney at one time.
There is 160 by 100. It's all the way on the edge and just barely clips the 500 radius map. It's all the way over here. Otherwise, I think the next smallest lot is an 8,000 lot, usually like the 80 by 100, or there's 40 by 200, but there's no other 6,000 square foot lots.
And Mr. Zola still has his argument of old file lot lines as well as single and separate ownership. So let's get all that together in one nice package, and then we'll reconvene in a public forum and reconsider it and give you a decision, if that's all right.
Thank you so much. Can't ask for that.
Our pleasure. Is anyone here to be heard on this application? There being nobody, I'll make a motion that the hearing be adjourned. Ms. Pissarro, what date do you want to give? Oh, Mr. Zola, how much time do you need, do you think?
Well, I need to, is the town hall open yet?
No.
No.
You want like 60 days, 45 days?
No.
30 days? What do you
30
want?
days. 30 days would be fine.
Ms. Pissarro, what's the closest that we have for 30 days for Mr. Zola?
October 27.
All right, I'll make a motion. We adjourn till October 27.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Mr.
Thank you,
Zola,
everybody.
great night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Next application number 554-20, Michael Dryhaupt and Danica Littlefield, permission to leave second story deck having a rear yard of 16 feet instead of required 25 feet, to leave shed having a rear yard of 3 feet instead of required 4 feet, and to leave chain link fence in sight distance triangle having a height of 4 feet instead of a permitted 3 feet, Residence A District, southwest corner of Church Street, number 1576 and Coates Avenue, Holbrook, New York. Janice Sheaf, are you here?
Yes,
The
yes,
applicant.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can.
Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes,
All right, hang on 1 second for me, okay?
yes.
All right, thank you. I just had to get my bearings straight here.
Okay,
I grew up in this neighborhood, so I'm a little familiar with it. And I probably know the house that we're talking about here. So
okay.
the floor is yours, ma'am.
Okay, well, good evening. My name is Janice Sheaf. I'm with Douglas Elliman. I'm not the owner of the house. I'm representing them. The new owners just purchased it, and I put the application in originally with the previous owners on the house. So since then, we have actually removed the 16 by 12 foot shed. The 5 by 8 foot shed was removed, and the 4-foot chain link fence on Church Street was removed, and a 3-foot chain link fence was installed, set back from the property line, from the boundary line.
Okay, so hang on a second, then that'll
Sure.
modify what we're doing here.
Okay, and I've
So,
submitted pictures on all those
You've
things.
removed the shed, right?
Both sheds, right?
Okay.
One was removed already.
Side yard of 3 instead of the required 4 feet. The chain link fence in the site distance triangle has been removed, right?
Well, we should just make sure we all are on the same page on that.
Well, hang on a second.
Okay,
If-
don't
if-
remove it yet.
We'll get to there. We'll get to that.
Okay,
I promise. I won't shut you out.
Okay.
So really, if that is the case, then all that's left is the permission to leave the second story deck having a rear yard of 16 instead of 25 feet, right?
Correct. And with respect
wh-
to the deck, sorry, it's a corner lot, as you can see. So it's kind of an irregular shape, and the deck is actually on the side of the house. It doesn't project through the back of the house.
Hang on, I'm
So, and-
looking.
Yeah.
Second story deck over concrete, right? What is next to your client's property? This said, the survey says land now or formerly County of Suffolk. What's next to that? Is that
On the
vacant?
side, yeah, that's county property. It's like a sump, I believe.
Okay, let's see. Church Street and Coates Avenue. Okay, yes, that's right. That's been like that
Right.
for forever. Yep.
Right.
Okay, Ms. Pissarro, talk to me about the fence that. you
Okay,
wanna
so
be
when the
heard about.
denial was originally written, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. The denial noted that the fence was in the right of way and would have to be moved to the property line in order for the
Site-
board,
The right of way or the site distance triangle?
the right of way.
Both.
Yes. Well, both,
Right.
yes.
So,
but-
Okay.
so the fence was removed, and then it was a new fence, 3 foot high, was installed on the other side of the boundary line. So it's not on, it was moved past more than 3.1 feet that was required.
Deirdre, did we send you that photo for you to display for us? To
Right,
help
so-
with
Right, I
that?
have the photo, and I believe the inspection was done after the fence was moved as well.
Okay, so here's the photo. So my point that I would like the board to consider is, unless you're perfectly comfortable that that's 3 foot high, it looked to me like it had just been driven into the ground a little bit more.
But if it's not, then that's her problem with building.
Oh, well, then we're
We're
back
not
to us.
granting her any relief for anything else.
Then she's back to us again. So I just wanted to point out
But that's
that
her peril.
because it's a very open chain link fence with no landscaping to obstruct it, regardless of whether it's 3 feet or 4 feet, because it's difficult to tell, there is no site obstruction.
Right, but we would never grant anything, and we have not granted anything in the site distance triangle. So, this indicates that she's withdrawing that portion of the request, so we don't
Okay.
need to consider that.
The fences are 2 different heights, right? On each of the
Right, yeah,
streets?
Right.
right. So now the fence on Church Street is 3 feet and the fence on Coates
Coates is
is 4
4.
feet.
Right.
But it's moved back more too.
They're in the
But
same
does it
triangle.
Does it comply?
Right.
No, because they're in the same triangle.
But if
Oh,
but she's not asking for that relief, Mr. Wexler. So if it doesn't comply, that's her issue with the building department. That's not going to be before her. She's withdrawing that portion of the application.
Okay.
All right. All right. So first I'll make a motion to amend the call of the meeting to remove the request to leave a shed having a rear yard of 3 feet instead of the required 4 feet, and to remove that portion of the request to leave a chain link fence in the site distance triangle having a height of 4 instead of permitted 3 feet. Do I have a
Second.
second? All right. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
I oppose, none. Okay, out of the call of the meeting
Aye.
is amended. And so we merely have the second yard deck. I would respectfully submit to the board, being the one that's usually the most, together with Mr. Wexler, vociferous about our objections to second story deck relief, that since this is next to a county-owned parcel of land that is vacant and undeveloped and will remain so, or it appears, that this is not offensive. So having said all of that, Mr. Sullivan, can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to grant the application as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Second.
So carried. Thank
Aye.
you, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Next application number 555-20, Robert J. and Susan Candela. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-602, Residence A District, north side of Elder Lane, number 545, 300 feet east of Hawthorne Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York. Is anyone here for the applicant? Ms. Cafico. Did I say that right? Mr. Cafico, please unmute yourself. Thank you. Are you there? Mr. Cafico?
Sacafico?
Sacafico?
Sacafico.
Are you not answering me because I'm pronouncing it wrong?
Oh, you know what? I'm getting a phone call. I wonder if this is her.
Okay.
She.
And you call yourself an Italian.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Sorry,
Vinny.
man. I don't call myself an Italian. I'm Sicilian. And the Italians don't call me Italian, certainly.
We won't go
Wait
into
a
that.
Is Nicolia Sicilian too?
Chris, are you Sicilian as well?
Nope, Roman.
There you go. See?
No, I'm
Yeah.
Roman.
Yeah, our people.
Roman? What's Roman?
He's Roman. He hasn't found a home yet. He's still Roman.
You think this nose came from nowhere? You think this nose came from nowhere? This is
We-
all Rome.
It's all wrong.
All right. We're waiting for the applicant. While we're waiting, Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard on this application? Sorry about that. Take your time. Don't answer right away.
No, it's an accessory apartment, so
Okay. So, all right. Ms. Pissarro, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard on this application? Ms. Pissarro.
She's on the phone. I can hear her. I think she's talking to the applicant's representative.
Yes, she muted herself, so.
Mr. Vice Chairman, any way we can adjourn this? It's our last one and
To adjourn it. Mr. Nicolia, could you ask Ms. Pissarro to turn on her microphone so we can speak?
Mary, can you turn on your mic?
Thank I
Mary.
see you use the intercom. Thank you.
Okay, no, don't call. I think I'll relay what you're saying, okay?
Thank you.
So, everybody, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have the applicant's representative on the phone. It's Linda Secafico. Hold on, Linda, I'm gonna repeat it back. They can't hear you. Let's try this. She's at 3 Silver Beach Lane in Bating Hollow.
Okay. Very simply. Is there anything she wishes to say about this? We've talked to planning already. And is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard?
There's nobody in the audience that wishes to be heard.
Thank
And
you.
is there anything you wanted to add to the record, Ms. Secafico? Oh, that's nice. Okay, let me relay that to the board. Okay, so
Yes, it's a nice young
Linda
couple.
says she knows Rob and Susan personally, and she also knows Alice Longwell, who they're creating this apartment for. She's 85 years old, and she's recently widowed, and they would like to give her this place to live.
That's wonderful, but not a zoning reason. But thank you. Ms. Pissarro, I noticed there's a proposed widening of the existing driveway to 18 feet in width. Is that any issue to you? Ms. Pissarro?
Mrs. Secafico has told me that the 18-foot is not an issue. The surveyor has already indicated it. Did you say he's already corrected it?
No, he marks it as proposed. Ms.
Yes, he
Pissarro,
marked it proposed because 18 feet is required.
does that present any issues for us?
No,
No.
it doesn't. It will meet
makes
engineering
compliance, right?
specifications.
Okay, great. Mr. Wexler, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application
Second.
for a
Sorry.
33 years.
All right,
Second.
and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Application granted. Thank you very much, Ms. Pissarro.
For a
Thank
period
you.
of 3 years.
We said that, Ms. Pissarro. You
No,
got to
you
be alert.
Thank you, Linda. Hanging up with you.
We
Bye.
thank you for your extraordinary efforts, Ms. Pissarro. That concludes our agenda for this evening. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
You do. Motion to
Second.
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. So carried. Thank you.